Hi guys, it's the Island Girl, and I'm back with another reaction video for you tonight. And tonight I'm reacting to 5 ways British and American meal etiquette is very different. And I'm getting this one from Lost in the Pond. And the link will be in the description below. Please go over and show him some love, guys. You can tell him Island Girl sent you. All right. I realize the meal etiquette is a huge thing in the UK. From a video that I did the other day, it just was. Well, I got a little tips of it. So let's find out what's the difference between American meal etiquette and British meal etiquette. All right. So come on in, rock back, put a smile on your face and enjoy. To all my regular schmegular day, one sweetie pie, sweetie poos. Come on in, rock back, put a smile on your face and enjoy. Let's get into this video. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already. Here we go now.
If they hear your accent and you are American, their ears might prick up a bit thinking, here comes a payday.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Lawrence, and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond. And one of those memos pertains to how we eat, dining etiquette. It's so important, especially when you're meeting your American family for the first time. I'm not talking from experience, maybe just a bit. Cultural differences around the dinner table don't just come down to the words we use, like chips versus fries, or the dishes that we serve. So, you know, America's pecan pie versus Britain's spotted dick. And that is an actual dessert, okay? Look it up, just not on your work computer. But it's also about some of the mechanisms that we use to get it into our mouths. I'm still talking about food. And also some of the customs and politeness norms that comes with the process of eating. And so without further crab rangoon, here are 5 ways that British and American eating etiquette is very, very different.
Okay.
Whether you call it cutlery, like we do in Britain, or silverware or flatware, or in this case, plasticware, because, you know, we are rationing, we can all agree that without them, meal times would be very, very messy, especially in America where they put sauce on everything. But the real question is, how do we hold them? And this was part of my existential crisis after I moved to the United States, because I grew up learning the European style, or as it might be known here, the continental style. And when I say that, I'm referring to what is the official utensil etiquette, right? As opposed to the official American etiquette. And I'm going to show you, I think anyway, some of the differences. I personally don't have either etiquette completely down because, in my wife's words, I still eat like a toddler. But it mostly comes down to how we hold the fork. In Britain, you hold it kind of like that, I think. So you've got it, the end of it's touching your palm, and then you sort of grasp it with your thumb and your pointy finger, and it's there for pointing downward, right? And you stick it into the potatoes or the strawberries or the spotted dick. And notice it's in my left hand. That's going to be important in a moment. And in the other hand, you have your knife, right? Usually like this, with the pointy finger right there. And it's touching your palm again. So consistent on both hands, right? It's almost an extension of you. You're almost Wolverine, but from the United Kingdom or Europe. And then you do this, right? Usually at a lower level. You wouldn't be able to see it because my arms are off screen now, so I'll put them back there. And then you cut into the potatoes or the strawberries or the creamy spotted dick. You can come with custard. That's normal. And voila, put it in your mouth. There's nothing on this. This isn't that scene in Hook where they eat invisible food. It goes this way round, right? With the tines facing downward toward your tongue. In America, it's quite a bit different, right? So people will hold their fork like this, with the tines facing upward. In other words, to kind of scoop up the food, right? So they'll do that. And actually sometimes, not every time, I mean, I'm sure there are people that circumvent all of the things you hear in this very list, but sometimes Americans won't even use a knife, right? You'll just see them scoop something up, maybe a potato. We won't go through the entire list again, put it in their mouth. If they want to cut up things in that way, sometimes they'll do it with the fork, right? Don't recommend it with plastic forks. You know, you can get through these pretty quickly if you do that. But if they do use a knife, they may turn the fork like this into the potato and then cut like that. You've got it there. You turn it back around. It's in your gob. And there you go. Bob's your uncle. You've got potatoes. And, you know, that's what a lot of Americans do. My father-in-law, though, did this. He had it like that and like that. He'd turn it that way, and then like that. It sort of looked, I should tell you that my in-laws were cavemen, but it was through those very cavemen / dear relatives of my wife that I was first introduced to our next entry.
Cutlery. I didn't even know that's what you guys call it there. But, so you're telling me the knife and the fork tip has to be in the palm of, you guys take this thing serious, boy. In the palm of your hand, and you turn down and it goes in your, majority of the time I don't have a knife. I'm guilty of that. My kids don't either. Lately they have been getting into using knives and fork because dad was like, you have to at least learn how to use it, which is true. But I I do down, cut to cut, but then I turn it sideways, just use a knife to scoop it on, and then I go up to the mouth. That's interesting though. He's like, I'm like Wolverine, because I don't, my knife go past and my fork go, and then you have to put your pointer on it. Okay, guys. Okay, I'll be struggling. I'll be struggling. Let's continue. Whoa.
Yes,
Grace.
saying grace. This one is quite a tough entry in many ways because, in order to talk about it, I do have to somewhat generalize. And also, I don't have much data to back up what I'm about to say. It's more observationally driven, right?
Okay.
So when I lived in England for 27 years of my life, I don't say that with disdain. It was a good time. But in all that time, I don't really remember sitting down to a dinner function of any kind and really sort of saying grace beforehand. In other words, kicking off the meal with a sort of faith-based thanks. Now, part of that, and again, this is where the generalization comes in, so bear with me, but in England, we tend to be less sort of like publicly open or just sort of even privately open, if you can be, among your family members about your religious beliefs. Whereas in the United States, I think people are more sort of proud of that, whatever their religious faith is.
Yeah.
And so sometimes in some families, and this again could be regional, so I might well be generalizing, but some families, including the extended relatives that I married into, I didn't marry them, I married into the family. Some families, and I gather maybe quite a lot of families here in the United States, particularly at special events like Thanksgiving or maybe even a homecoming of some kind, will sort of say grace before the meal. And there'll usually be one family member who stands up and says it on behalf of the entire group. And then you say amen and go about your way. For me, it was quite weird at first, I think. Now, I'm very respectful of other people's religious beliefs. I didn't really know what to do except just sort of sit there and then wait for it to be done. And then, because I had half a mind on the turkey. So what are you going to do? And because I'm generalizing here, it's important for me to say that this is my experience. I'd be very interested to hear other people's experiences, other Europeans' experiences of coming here and maybe having to say grace when they're not used to it, or, Americans that don't themselves practice this. I've also heard it can go one step further here where the whole family holds hands. I definitely draw the line at that, especially right now. The best way that I can put this for British people watching back home is, in football, when somebody dies and they have a minute's silence within the stadium, and then when the minute's silence is up, they all erupt in applause and all of that. It's kind of like that, minus the applause. It's just an amen, but the energy after that is great because you all want to tuck into your food. And because the energy is so good, that leads us on to our next entry.
So he's correct on that. I can attest to that with the saying of the grace before you eat. I did it in Jamaica as well. It's not just here, and we hold hands too. Well, not a lot of people hold hands anymore, but that is something that is practiced. The grace is said before you actually eat. Sometimes, if you're out and about, you don't tend to say it out loud, but you just bow your head and you'll say grace before you actually stuff your face. So, but I was surprised that he said that is something that you guys don't practice, because I thought, well, in my head. But then again, when I think about it, yes, you guys are not really out there when it comes to religion and talking about it at all, too. So, yeah, he's right when it comes to this proud thing in the US, in America. Yeah, he's spot on. But yeah, I've been used to it, doing it in Jamaica, and I'm used to it here as well. So yeah. Table chatter.
Oh, I don't mind a bit of chatter and exceptionally weird noises. And at an American dinner table, you're going to get a lot of chatter. Usually, again, this is another generalization, but on the whole, this is my experience. And I'm one of those people who doesn't think that Americans are always loud, as the stereotype dictates. But one exception tends to be in restaurants, right? I do hear the volume go up there as compared to Britain, where it feels like we're always battling with this war within ourselves to not air our dirty laundry in public. I'm not saying we don't talk at dinner tables, don't get me wrong. It feels observationally, once again, and again, there's no data on this. There's not somebody going around measuring the decibels in every restaurant in either country, especially right now because they're all closed. But that's my general experience of it. Now, I could be getting thrown off course a little bit here because, you know, my wife's family are really loud. Don't tell them I said that, although this is a public video. They know it's true. I've told them before, and that's why we've not spoken in a year. But here in America, you might be in a restaurant, sitting down with just one other person, trying to have a quiet, intimate conversation. And to your right, there's this really loud family with a 5-year-old running around with a stupid hat on that he got from the restaurant, right? So they're further enhancing the volume of said family. And then on the other side, there's clearly what is a date happening. And the woman is just sitting there quietly, looking quite glum, while the man very audibly and haphazardly talks about all of the Fortune 500 companies he's worked for. And she stares into space, presumably thinking of all the ways that she can get out of there. But on the other hand, once you do get used to that sort of raised volume, it does add to the atmosphere, you know. And if you're already in a good mood and you enter somewhere where thousands, that's a huge restaurant, hundreds maybe, where there's lots of people and they're in a good mood and it just sort of bounces off the walls, you know. But speaking of restaurants, that brings us on to our next entry.
Yes, that tends to be the case because everybody's competing to hear each other in the restaurant. So the atmosphere tend to be a bit low for real, guys. As something I thought was weird when I came here and go into a restaurant. And then the kids, they don't really sit still. They get to roam around and they cry and they pretty much do whatever. I'm not talking about babies. That's different. I'm talking about kids that you can say, okay, shh, or not so loud. No. Everybody is trying to out-talk everybody pertaining to volume. At home, I realize dinner time or at the table is talking time. Like, how did your day went? What's something good that that it's time to have a conversation with the whole family if you're having dinner. Yes. No more cheese, it's royal. No more. Huh? So yes. So I guess what he's saying that you guys don't really do much talking at the dinner table. It's mainly for eating. I might get that wrong. Let me know in the comment section if that's the case or not. All right, let's move on to the next server's etiquette. All right, here we go.
Servers. My heart does go out to all of the servers and anybody else to whom this applies around the world who can't go into work right now. And a huge thank you to delivery servers who are able to keep people fed who might need it. But, back in peacetime when the restaurants were still open, there was quite a marked difference between, British servers and American servers and the way they sort of conduct themselves at the dinner table while you're eating your dinner. In Britain, they're quite standoffish. And I know that's just a trait of British people in general. I get that. But they don't have the incentive, which we'll talk about in a minute, to constantly be coming back to your table and seeing how you're doing, checking if you need a refill on that water, because you probably won't get one anyway. I'm joking. Of course, you'll get a free refill on your water, just nothing else. Often, know this, if you want their attention, you're going to have to get their attention yourself. And that includes when it comes time to pay the bill. Whereas in the United States, and each restaurant has its different policy on this, the waiting staff will come to your table every 5 minutes, usually, just to see how you're doing. And it seemingly doesn't matter if you're in the middle of a seriously one-sided Fortune 500 companies you've worked for, they will still come over and go, hey, what's up? How's that tenderloin working out for you? And there are a couple of big reasons, I think, that American serving staff do this. Firstly, the company often dictates it. It's seen as a kind of data-driven way of, having good customer service. But having good customer service could well dictate this.
Sorry, guys, had to put Araya down to bed. She was getting sleepy. All right. So yes, where the servers are concerned, there's totally a difference when it comes on. I've never been to the UK, but I can say this much: the the servers here, they're there every 5 minutes, some 2 minutes. It depends, because they have to give you that excellent service because they're expecting a tip. You understand me? And not only that, they don't get paid. They don't get paid well, so they're always there on the back. They're always coming and asking, "Oh, is your food okay? Do you need more drink? Can I get you anything else?" It's a constant. It's like you don't get to eat your food in peace or to just sit and relax and just say, "Okay, I'm just gonna sit here and eat this food, and I won't be." It's not that you've gotten so used to it that you don't think you're being bothered, but pretty much. And then I've heard a lot of people talk about the service in you don't get any when you're British servers are non-existent. You have to literally go and find them or beckon to them when you're ready to pay your bill or if you need something else. But I can understand why, because a lot of people always explain to me in the comment section that, listen, that's just how it is here. Take it or leave it. And they don't find it to be rude or anything to that effect because that's their norm. And they are being paid well. So why would they be running back and forth every minute? It's like, it's like they're disturbing you. So, yeah. So,
good customer service. But having good customer service could well dictate this.
that's it. Here
Have
we
they
go.
tried antifreeze with that? No. Well, he might go back to his milk phase eventually. Yeah. Yeah. So the dreaded tip, or at least it was dreaded to me when I first moved to America, actually, when I landed at Philadelphia Airport. This is the first time I remember having to sort of navigate the American tipping system because I bought a drink at a bar at that very airport. And having bought the Jack Daniels or 6, I'm not a good flyer. I turned to the gentleman next to me and I asked him, how does tipping work? And, he very, very kindly offered, well, whatever the amount is on your receipt, just give them 85% of that. And that's about good. That's standard. That was a lie. And I ended up almost bankrupt. Firstly, in the United States, regardless of the amount, it's very much expected that you do tip because that's basically how servers make their wage.
Yep.
And the standard amount that you're expected to tip is the complete opposite of 85%. It's 15%, right? But if you thought it was good service, or just to be sort of a good person, really, you can definitely tip more than that. I typically tip. Try saying that after 6 whiskeys. I did that night. I typically tip, particularly if I'm on a trip, 20%, or I might even round up to 21 if it kind of requires it. Tipping of some kind is expected here. In the UK, if you're thinking of going there, firstly, don't do that right now. But if after all this blows over, you are fancying going to the UK, then you're not required to tip at all, right? I mean,
Okay.
people get paid a sort of living wage, more or less, for being a server in the UK. It's good practice. If you want to do that, you certainly can. 10% is recommended. And, growing up in the UK, I never really did tip all that often, I must say. I think if I were to live there now, I probably would do so a bit more. It's not expected. I mean, servers aren't going to expect you to tip. Although, if they hear your accent and you are American, their ears might prick up a bit thinking, here comes a payday, right? Whereas it's the other way around here. As soon as servers hear a British accent, they must be filled with dread. Or maybe that's not true. Maybe servers hear a British accent and think, he's ripe for manipulation. I've had some bad experiences. That's it for this episode. Thank you for joining me today. And, it's kind of sad that I couldn't practice a lot of these things for the video, except for the knives and forks, and those were the last plastics I have. As ever, a reminder that you can keep up with me and all my stupid rambling.
Okay, guys. Definitely didn't see that coming with the cutlery, with the knife and fork. Didn't see that coming one bit. But like he said, where the tipping is concerned, yeah, a lot of people here in the US look forward to a tip once they're there, once you're dining or what. You don't even have to be dining in. You don't have to be in a restaurant. You can be just picking up a sandwich and they want a tip. You can just ask for You can be just buying a drink and they want a tip. But when I think about it, I'm like, there's a tipping culture in Jamaica as well. Not as bad, but you'll be labeled as a meanie or a stingy person in Jamaica if you come into a restaurant and you don't tip. So the servers tend to, if wo- worse, if it's a restaurant that you constantly go to, you're gonna be pointed out and you're not going to get that top-notch service, which is shouldn't be the case because you're done already paying for meal and you're paying a hefty price for the meal that you're about to eat. So that shouldn't be the case, but they're not being paid well as well, so I can see why they do that. But yeah, you'll be the talk of those waiters. Say, listen, avoid his table. He don't pay, or if he does tip, he doesn't tip well. Yeah, I've seen it. I've heard it. I've experienced it. So I know what it is like. And here in the US, it's the same thing. They can be snobby too if you don't tip them well, and it's a restaurant that you're a regular at. They'll Yeah, you stick out like a sore thumb. But I was surprised that that's not the case when you're in the UK because a lot of people say, listen, British um, workers or well, servers don't necessarily serve you for tip, like I said earlier, because they do get paid well. Their wages is good. So with that said, it's your island girl and I'm running out of here. So the etiquette, the way they eat, the way you guys place your knife and fork and the way you hold it, I'm like, okay, interesting. Serving, so the cultural differences is a lot, as you can see between the two American Brit and the British meal etiquettes. They're very different. So it's the island girl. I'm running out of here. I'm rambling, rambling, rambling. Come on in. Give this video a big thumbs up. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. What do you think? Hmm. And be good, be kind. Love you guys, and I'll see you guys in another video. Bye.